The Constitution is organized into three main parts: the preamble, the articles, and the amendments. When it was written in 1787, it only took up several large pages, but the best way to think about its organization is by comparing it to a book. The preamble is like an introduction, the articles are like chapters, and the amendments are like a glossary at the end of a book. The Constitution begins with the preamble, which is like an introduction to a book because it tells us what the rest of the Constitution is going to be about. It states, "We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." Sound familiar? Most people have heard some of the preamble before and recognize a few of the ideas it introduces. It is introducing the Constitution and the ideas you will find in it, like justice in the court system and the defense provided by the military. Next up in the Constitution are the articles, which are like the chapters of a book. There are 7 total, and each one has a theme. Articles 1, 2, and 3 go over the 3 branches of government, the legislative, executive, and judicial branches. Article 4 goes over how the relationships between states will work. Article 5 goes over the procedures to amend or change the Constitution. Article 6 goes over several things, including national debt, the Supremacy Clause, which states that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, and the oaths of office for high-ranking officials. Finally, Article 7 goes over the procedure for ratifying or approving the Constitution, followed by the signatures of the state delegates who signed the document into law back in the 1700s. Last are the amendments. They are like a glossary at the end of a book. With a glossary or dictionary, as new words are created in the English language, they are added in. It works the same way with amendments. When the Founding Fathers were writing the Constitution, they couldn't predict every new issue that would arise over time, so they wrote Article 5 outlining how the Constitution could be amended. As new issues have arisen, new amendments have been added to the Constitution. The first 10 were the Bill of Rights, which granted individuals protections from the government, and the most recent, the 27th Amendment, states that congressional pay cannot increase or decrease in the middle of a term. Usually every decade or so, a new amendment makes its way through the ratification process and is added to the Constitution, so chances are in your lifetime you'll live to see a few more. So far, we've talked about how the Constitution is physically organized, with the preamble, articles, and amendments. However, the Constitution is also organized around 6 major principles or ideas: popular sovereignty, federalism, the separation of powers, checks and balances, judicial review, and limited government. Popular sovereignty means the power is with the people and introduces the idea that the people will do the ruling in the United States. Federalism refers to how the United States government is structured. The power is divided between the national government and the state governments, which are 2 separate systems. The separation of powers refers to the way the national government is organized into 3 separate branches: the legislative branch, the executive branch, and the judicial branch. The Founding Fathers divided up these powers so no one individual or group would hold too much power like a king. Checks and balances is the idea that each of the 3 branches has a few powers over the other 2 branches. For example, Congress makes the laws, but the president has to approve them by signing them into law, and the court has the power to declare laws unconstitutional if they violate the Constitution. Judicial review is the idea that federal courts can declare local, state, and national laws unconstitutional. Limited government is the idea that the government's power is not absolute, or in other words, unlimited. The branches have only those powers given to them in the Constitution and the amendments. These ideas were revolutionary and almost unheard of at the time the Constitution was written. No other country on earth was being ruled strictly by its own people under a set of laws written by people of non-royal birth. All right, time to review. Pop quiz. What do we call the introduction to the Constitution? The preamble. What do the first 3 articles go over? The legislative, executive, and judicial branches. What are amendments and how many are there? Amendments are changes to the Constitution, and there are currently 27. What does popular sovereignty mean? It means that the people have the power. What is federalism? Federalism means the power is divided between the national and state governments. What does the separation of powers refer to? The separation of powers refers to the fact that the government is divided up among the three branches, legislative, executive, and judicial, so no group or individual gets too much power. What are checks and balances? Checks and balances are powers each branch has over the other two branches. What is judicial review? Judicial review is the process by which federal courts can declare local, state, and national laws unconstitutional. And finally, what is limited government? Limited government is the idea that the government doesn't have an unlimited amount of power. Only the power is given to it in the Constitution and the amendments. Congratulations! You now know the organization and the principles of the Constitution.